Ahoy, mateys! Today we're storming untreaded waters, at least as far as this channel is concerned, and taking a look back at a toy that truly defines the word classic. So the Transformers Classics line busted onto the scene in 2006, and the story goes that it was allegedly created as a filler toy line when the live-action movie got delayed to 2007, and they needed something to go on store shelves that year. So I suppose they figured they'd make some good old callbacks to the early days. I just want to address that Beast Wars is older now than G1 was when this figure was released. Yeah, as my best friend put it, the ever-marching clock of time stops for no one. And this was one of the first examples of modern Transformers toys based on their 80s designs. Something that's still going strong today with Generations, and that legacy will continue on into Legacy. But amongst the pleasing G1 faithful, friendly, familiar faces came this absolute odd one out if ever I've seen one. So let's take a look at one of the weirdest Megatron toys ever, and that's saying a lot, with Classics Megatron. Not that one, but, this one. So most of the Transformers Classics toys were heavily influenced by their Generation 1 designs. Not exactly as spot on as we would have gotten much later, but slightly modern updates, with a general aura of these are supposed to be new G1 toys, basically. And with pretty much every other toy in the line, you can see that inspiration very clearly. But this, I have to be honest, I have no idea where this came from. He looks almost nothing like Megatron. And unsurprisingly, that's why a lot of people were super turned off by this toy at the time. But while everyone was scrambling trying to get their mitts on the shinier Japanese release, little did they realize this toy would have a legacy of its own. Now, getting into it, aesthetics-wise, this looks more inspired by anything that isn't G1 Megatron. Perhaps the Unicron trilogy. But that's actually why I like this toy. There isn't anything similar to it. This is the only time Megatron has ever looked like this. The color scheme of white, purple, brilliant green, and yellowish gold looks stunning. Along with the dark black, the light hits off it so beautifully. The ridges in the legs, along with the circles on the waist and the angled detailings on the torso, it all works together to make him look so alien and robotic. It's almost like that was the idea. I also like that one of his shoulders has an orange fez. So the fusion cannon is massive. Like, it's wider than his arm. He looks insane. Imagine how heavy this thing must be to haul around. It's great. I'm digging the double-sided Decepticon symbols it's repping. But if this cannon's getting too intimidating for you, don't worry. It's sporting its safety orange. And it's got a B.E. beautiful head sculpt. The face itself looks so mean with the mouth actually forming an M shape. M for Megatron. Or maybe mouth. And he's got a striking, mean, black forehead eyebrow thing. And he has some of my favorite light piping of all time. Green is the best color for light piping. It's true. I'm sure you've noticed by now his large, translucent green wings. These are actually pieces of his alt mode just out on full display. I'm not too bothered by it though, since it's so unapologetic. They're an iconic part of this figure's design. If you want Classics Megatron, you're getting the kibble wings. Deal with it. They at least contribute to the design alright and give the toy an interesting silhouette. His articulation's decent. He's got some nasty ratcheting throughout, providing a wondrous symphony of clicking and really strong joints. Unfortunately, it means you can't play with this guy past 9 o'clock. The only real issue with the posability is that since there isn't much mobility in the feet, it does make the toy prone to falling over, especially with how top-heavy the angel wings make him. Still though, despite those small shortcomings, this is a robot mode for the ages. It walks the fine line of being so weird and strange, but also being genuinely awesome. What a class act. The transformation's extremely clever. You disconnect and move around parts of him in ways that feel so unusual and different to most Transformers. It's super smart, almost like it's making fun of you. And look at this. This is what the inside of the alt mode looks like. It's amazing. Almost kind of creepy. So this scruffy looking nerf herder turns into this thing. It's a gun, definitely, but I never could tell if it was meant to be an in-universe toy gun, like a Nerf blaster, or if it was meant to be a far-out sci-fi alien future gun. Like, on the one hand, the Nerf idea sounds too ridiculous, but on the other hand, blasters and Transformers rarely ever look like this, so I don't have an answer. But regardless, it's super audacious, and I can't help but love it for what it is. Once again, the color scheme absolutely smashes. It's exceedingly smart how the handle is made out of one of his legs, and the click of the trigger feels really good in hand. Since a lot of this gun's exterior is made out of his robot mode legs, it ends up actually making him look pretty smooth and clean, even more so than the Masterpiece toy. That toy just looks like a gun someone has stepped on. The futuristic aesthetic and the utilization of subtle rivets and line work do wonders for this thing. I'm especially fond of the white and translucent green Nerf dart container thing near the front. And this toy's showing off its assuring safety regulation aware orange tip. So what seems to be the problem, officer? And to top it all off, you can peek through the scope to see some little crosshairs inside. This doesn't actually fire anything, but does it have to? But this gun mode manages to charm me all the same. As in alt mode, it looks pretty good and refined, but it's the uniqueness that really gets me. It's a toy of Megatron, fearsome Decepticon leader, that turns into what is essentially a Nerf gun. In the end, Classics Megatron is a very good toy. Not despite his weirdness, but in part because of it. Something I find unbelievable is the fact that for many years, even after we started getting more and more modern toys of G1 characters, there wasn't just a normal Voyager-sized Megatron toy to go along with your other Decepticons. We didn't get another decently sized, wide-release Megatron toy until Combiner Wars in 2015, meaning that for almost a decade, this toy was the definitive modern G1 Megatron toy. This neon green freak of a thing, it's amazing. He's just being himself, acting as loud and vibrant as possible, only bearing the loosest possible interpretation from the source material, and in my mind, that's why you gotta admire this toy. Generation Selects? Come on, I'm just saying. So thanks so much for joining me on this most strange of an event, and remember, it's Classics Megatron or nothing. Okay, get out of here.